Hey y'all, welcome to Fitting and Homemaking. My name is Sarah, and today we are going to be doing a house project. Or rather, people I hired are going to be doing a house project. But I am very excited because by the end of today for me, and by the end of this video for you, this fireplace will finally be functioning. So we're gonna have a little bit of story time first, and then I'm gonna let you take a look at the fireplace in its current state. And then after my fireplace folks get everything up and running, we will take another look at it, okay? So for context, I have owned my house for about 9 years now. It'll be 9 years this December, later this month. And when I bought the house, it was a situation where the housing market was it was fairly competitive. Like, I did get the house for list price, but the only reason I got it for list price is because I was willing to be very flexible on the closing date. So between the time I put an offer in on the house and the closing date, it was less than a month, and I was not buying the house in cash, right? I'm not rich. I don't have cash to buy a house. So the quick bit of that was like making sure the financing went through, right? So when I got the house inspected, as one does before you purchase things worth multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, excuse me, the home inspector couldn't figure out how to turn this fireplace on, and I was there with him, and he was showing me stuff around the house, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it on. Now, I mostly grew up with wood-burning fireplaces, so I thought maybe I'm just, being a little bit ignorant and not knowing how to turn on the gas fireplace, because we did have a gas fireplace like the last 2 years that I lived with my parents, but there was just a switch on the wall that you flipped on or off to make it work. And there's the switches over there are for the overhead light in here and the outdoor light. It's not for this, right? So neither of us could figure out how to turn it on. So he said you should probably ask the previous owners if there's a trick or something to this, because he didn't see anything. Sorry, I've got hair on my nose. So because I was closing in such a short amount of time, I asked my real estate agent to ask their real estate agent to ask the previous owners, because they had already fully moved out. The house was vacant when I bought it. And their real estate agent couldn't get an answer back to me until it was like we were actually physically sitting in the lawyer's office and closing, because I wanted the house. I wasn't going to let a fireplace, make or break the deal. But in retrospect now, if I would have been a little bit more savvy, I would have made the closing a little bit more contingent on that and have asked for a credit to have it fixed. But I just put it on my list of things to address later. And sorry if you can hear Max whining in the background. He's wanting to go for his walk, but I need to get this done before the fireplace people come. I'll try to edit that out if I can. But yeah, so the previous owner's real estate agent got back to me at closing and said, the previous owners never used that fireplace. They do not know how it works, which was a little surprising because the previous owners owned this house for 10 years. And I guess I can understand that a little bit more because I've owned the house now for 9 years and it has not worked in the 9 years I have had this house. Well, that's not true. I didn't know that it didn't work. I just didn't know how to turn it on. And I knew that since the previous owners hadn't used it in the entire decade they lived here, it definitely needed to be serviced, and the chimney needed to be swept because it does have a full chimney attached to it. It's not a ventless fireplace. So it was pretty low down on my list. Like I said, I grew up with wood-burning fireplaces. Gas fireplaces don't really do as much for me, like cozy vibe-wise. But we also live in an area where this is much more common. Now, if we lived in the mountains, wood fireplaces would be way more common, right? But we just don't. So last winter season, my husband quite a few times mentioned, it'd be really nice if the fireplace worked. And, we've been married and living together for 6 years now. So obviously it's been mentioned in passing before, but I think last year we had a couple of like colder days where he's like, it'd be cozy if that worked. And he just mentioned it more often last season. So this year, after our first cold day, I thought to myself, you know what? My husband really likes surprises, and I know that he really would like this fireplace to work. So I'm going to go ahead and surprise him by scheduling a fireplace check and chimney sweep service. And then we'll get that done, and I can surprise him when he comes home with the fireplace being on. And won't that be a wonderful surprise? So I told him I had a surprise for him, but it was going to take a little while to make it happen because obviously at that time of year, fireplace folks are busy. So I think I had to schedule like 3 weeks out, which I was astonished it was that soon. But I kept building it up. Oh, I've got a surprise for you. I've got a surprise for you, because that's part of why he likes a surprise, is because he knows a surprise is coming. It's part of that anticipation. And getting the service done is like also not cheap, but it's within the realm of, we had already agreed that we were going to do this eventually, and it's just someone just needed to do the legwork. So I felt fine spending that money without him knowing that it was being spent at that exact time. So the guys came out and they took a look, and as they were cleaning it, they're like, first of all, there's way too many logs in this fireplace. Like the fire is not going to work well. Like at the end of the day, like we'll call you over and like tell us which logs you'd like to leave out so that it works better, because it wouldn't draw enough air. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense, right? You can't stack wood, like even in a wood burning fireplace, how you stack the wood is important to make sure there's enough air being drawn up to have a fire, right? You need air to have a fire. So I was like, yeah, cool. And then he got to the part where he was inspecting the burner, and it's just completely locked up. This is why the home inspector and I could not get it to work, because we saw the switch and we're like, it seems like you should just have to turn this switch, but it wouldn't turn it off for us. And we're like, maybe you need to push it in and turn it, or like maybe there's some trick to it. There's no trick to it. It was broken. So I live in the southeast part of the United States, which tends to be fairly humid during a good portion of the year. And so some moisture had gotten into the gears, and the gears in the burner had essentially just frozen up. So the switch doesn't work. There's no way to turn it on. So they looked at the burner and looked at the manufacturer, tried to call up the manufacturer. The manufacturer has been out of business for many years, because my house was built, I believe, in 1994. And I believe this is the original gas log and burner set. So yeah, it was some random company in Georgia. They were out of business, and they said, well, let's call our people and see if there are replacement parts for this, if they use standardized parts, so we can get replacement parts and just take out those gears and repair it for you. That was a no-go. So instead of having a lovely working fireplace by the end of the day to surprise my husband with, I had to tell him, hey, like it's broken and it needs to be replaced. And that is expensive enough, and there are choices involved in that where I knew that my husband would want to be involved in those decisions, and whether or not we did it this year or like waited to a different time to do it. The first quote, so I'm still doing all the legwork for this, but now it's like I have spoiled the surprise for my husband, unfortunately, having to do that by saying, hey, this is what the surprise was going to be. It didn't work out. Like it's actually broken and needs to be replaced. I'll do the legwork and you can like approve of the visuals or the type. So we had some options. Like I said, we have a full chimney. They sweep the chimney. The entire fireplace insert in the chimney are absolutely perfect, chef's kiss perfect. Nothing needs to be done there. So we had some options. We can replace it with another vented log set and burner, or we could convert this to a wood burning fireplace. Now the wood burning fireplace sounded good to me, but I also know the resale value of that is not as good in our area. And all they would have to do is cap the gas line like under the house and, take the logs and burner out, right? And then boom, gas burning or wood burning fireplace. But it is also a lot of upkeep. You have to make sure you get the chimney sweep regularly and serviced and these sorts of things, which you don't have to do as often with a gas log set. The gas log set does resale more in this area. Like I said, we don't live in the mountains or anything. People are going to like the convenience of a gas log set more. And we are possibly thinking about moving in the next, I don't know, 2 to 5 years, depending on what works out. My daughter's about to age out of preschool. And so we're, you know, once she's in elementary school, we're thinking about, oh, maybe that'd be a better time we need one more room in the house, right? So my kids can each have their own room as they get older. But so resale value is important to us when we're talking about this. So we decided to go with a vented gas log set. I got quotes. The first quote they came back with was just outrageous, absolutely outrageous for what we were considering our budget. Like we couldn't even see our budget from the quote they gave us. So I called their salesperson. I was like, my dude, we can't, absolutely no, we can't do that. So of course they quoted us their top of the line, blah, 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 that sort of thing. Of course they're going to do that. But they had 2 types of log sets, like 2 models of log sets. And then you can get like, there are lots of different like designs of logs that you could get with the burner sets. So we went for their lower end one. And the first one they quoted us also had a remote where it was similar to, instead of a switch on the wall that you just flick to turn it on, you would have a remote that you would just press to turn it on. As opposed to a matchlit one where you actually, you know, light a match, get in there, and, you know, there's a little bit of a process to turn it on. But the remote versus the matchlit was like a difference of almost $500 in cost. So it's like, no, we're definitely going matchlit rather than remote. And that's probably also a little bit better of a fit for us, because if we randomly put a remote down on a side table, we try to be very careful about not doing that. But if we do, the kids are going to get it, and I don't want them being able to play with fire, right? Or if you lose the remote, like how much does it cost to get that remote replaced, right? So we've gone with the matchlit version, the lower end of the logs. So they are going to be coming and installing that today, and fingers crossed that everything goes fantastic and this fireplace is working by the end of the day. So I felt kind of bad that I had to ruin my husband's surprise, and we had to discuss the cost a lot. This is, if you watch some of my other videos, I've been doing a low spend year with a budget review. Our home project expenses do not come out of like our monthly budget that we try to keep to within our paychecks each month, right? So that we're not dipping into savings all the time. We try to live within our means. But each year when we get our tax return, we do tend to get a bit of money back, and we just set that aside for home projects or for like insurance deductibles, that sort of thing, if there's a home emergency. So we did have plenty of money in there to end up doing this project with the lower cost options, right? So that's what we're going to be doing today. Sorry, that was a very long story time, but that is the context of this. So after owning this house for 9 years, we are finally going to have a working fireplace, and I'm super excited because in the next few days here, the low temperature is going to be in the teens. And growing up in the Midwest, that's pretty typical for winter. In the middle part of North Carolina, not really that typical. I think we are going to have a colder than average year. We've already had a colder than average year. We had snow the other day. It wasn't a lot of snow, but we did have snow. And in previous years, snow and very cold temperatures, it tends to be like late January, early February before those things happen. So that's a little bit exciting to have like more of a traditional, what I would consider a traditional winter here. But it's going to be amazing with having a working fireplace. So let me take you guys a bit closer. I'll move our little grate here, and I'll take you a bit closer, and you can see what the fireplace looks like inside before they fix it. And then after they're done, I'll give you an after and a little tutorial on how to light it, partially just so I have a record for myself. And then we will sit by the fire for just a little bit, hopefully. Okay, folks, sorry for the very bright light, but I have my flash on so you can actually see. So we have this grate. Now this is a little bit in disarray from when they cleaned it before. So you can see like there's extra logs over here. They're like, there's way too many logs in here. And this one was not in front like this before. One of these big ones was just sitting in front of this to kind of hide the burner more. But they put it back like this knowing that I was going to replace it and that it, was not working. I'm assuming this was either an air hole through here or like it went around one of the pipes or something before. But this is how they put it back for me. You can see the little latch for the flue there. And this pine cone was farther in here too. But you can see some of the air coming in here. But this is the switch that is just broken, right? It doesn't work. And this pine cone would sit on here before like this to hide that part. So the burner is the part that's really broken, and it's just, you have to get the burner and the log set together. I don't think you can just replace one unless it's still being manufactured, right? So this and all of the logs are coming out. The fireplace around here, absolutely fine. The flue, the chimney, absolutely fine. The little, grating so that nothing pops out is fine. I feel like that's more suited for a wood-burning fireplace anyway. But that is what it looks like now. And after the guys get done doing their work, I will show you what our new one looks like. Y'all, we are back, and I am so incredibly pleased. Look at it. Look at how beautiful it is. Since this fireplace hasn't been working in so long, I've kind of forgotten what it's like to kind of cozy up next to the fire and just the beauty of having it on, even if it is gas logs. I've always found wood logs, or not wood, of course, wood logs, but a wood burning fireplace more attractive and like the sound. But this is so cozy. It's so inviting. Sorry if I just poked you. I sent a picture to my husband, and he is pleased with it since this was supposed to be his level of surprise. And today he won't get home from work until very late. So very pleased with this. With the installation, we also get a free gas log service within the next year. So next fall, I'll probably call them out again. The guys were great. It was the person who installed it was the same person who came out for the original inspection, and nice guy. So I will definitely go and leave a Google review for them and for their service. And I'm not going to show you how to start it because it's like infinitely less complicated to start than I thought it was going to be. It's essentially, there's a knob over here, which I'll show you a close-up of it. But there's a knob over here. You just push it in and turn it to the setting that says pilot. There's a starter knob on the other side. You click that, and then you turn it on and you hold it on for a little while. There's a sensor in there that has to heat up to a certain amount, and then it'll just whoosh, absolutely come on. So that's great. I had bought like these really long burning matches, thinking I'm going to have to like light a match and like be sticking it really far in there to like turn on the light, like adjusting, the gas flow and that sort of thing. Obviously the salesperson was trying to get me to upgrade to the remote start because, that's their job. I like no shade on that. You do you, and, get that money. But yeah, so I'm really pleased with how simple it is to start. It's not complicated at all. It has a bunch more safety features than I thought it would have. So it automatically shuts off if something weird happens. And so that was really encouraging. Having this in front will be helpful, even though this is metal. It will eventually get pretty hot, but this has been on for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so, and it's just very slightly warm to the touch. So hopefully that will help keep my kids safe. They already know that they are not supposed to go on the hearth here, the black slab that's on the floor. But we'll definitely have to have additional talks about that. But I think they're going to love this. I think my husband's going to love it. It randomly started snowing while they were installing this. So it's kind of the perfect, cozy, almost winter day. Or I guess when you guys see this, it will technically be winter then. So let me move this and get you guys a close-up view. No flash needed this time, right? It's pretty bright. So we have the starter knob here. Hopefully you can see that. But it just has 3 settings, the pilot and then on and off. We've got the little glowing embers underneath. This is like the actual starter that makes the flame. The pilot is in the middle behind that front log. And I like the arrangement of logs. I did choose these specifically because they looked less fake than some of the other logs that they had. But this is really great. There's quite a bit of heat coming off it, even though we do have a chimney and it's vented. If I want to, I can close these curtains. I just have to pull them out a little bit. But those are more for, wood burning fireplaces to catch any of the embers that pop out, which obviously we're not going to have this happening with a gas fireplace. The installer did say that I could get some of the little like black lava rocks to go down here and cover up the bottom part of the insert. He said that generally looks nice. He said you can buy them on Amazon for pretty cheap, and he would recommend with this size of a fireplace getting the small ones. So maybe we'll do that. But for now, I am so super happy with this installation. And I think we're going to get a lot of hours of enjoyment out of this. Y'all, I just wanted to end this video with a cozy view of the flames here. This video is going to post on Christmas Eve, so I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. I hope you get everything that you want for Christmas, both material and non-material things. I hope you have a wonderful time with family. If Christmas is a hard time for you, I hope you feel safe and loved. If you don't celebrate Christmas, but you celebrate the winter solstice or Yule, I hope you had a wonderful time celebrating the coming back of the sun and longer days, which I think helps everyone's mood. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, maybe you don't need a cozy fire for a Christmas, but also have a very Merry Christmas. And I will leave you with the flames and maybe some little music here to end out so that you can just take a few minutes and relax. Thanks so much for watching along with me, and I will see you the next time. Bye.